remote scalable income. So what other ways can somebody develop maybe remote scalable income? What do you recommend, or what do you see working today?
I'll say just wing it. No,
it all works. Don't worry about it.
So so that's where the idea of passionate income evolved from,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where the entire book came from. So it started with that remote scalable income, and I'm like, dude, I can do this every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the most fun I've ever had, and ironically, I started making more money from this than I've ever made. So the irony of the Action Academy podcast is we will hit $1 million in revenue before we hit 1 million downloads.
That's awesome. Yeah, it just shows that you don't need 1 billion followers.
But you need the right followers.
Yeah.
You need to speak to your person. I know exactly who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to that person that's got a couple rental properties. They're making $80,000 to $800,000 a year, and they're like, "Dude, I've been trying to do this stuff. I'm trying to save my money, buy more real estate, save my money, buy more real estate, and I can't freaking figure this out. And I make $20,000, $30,000 a month. How the hell do I replace that?"
Yeah.
Right? And they feel so stuck. That's who I speak to, because that was me.
Yeah.
Right. So remote scalable income turns into passionate income, which is getting paid to do what you would already happily do for free. Nobody was talking about this. And I was so sick of these financial freedom books, no offense, that act like financial freedom is the end.
Yep.
Financial freedom is where your life begins, not where it ends. It is Ready Player One. Go. Start here. Collect $200, right? That's where life happens. So the 3 levels of freedom are actually like financial is the first, then it's time freedom, then it's mental and emotional freedom. So it's like, first, let's get everyone financially free so that they can, get out of that job and figure out, okay, what am I here to do on earth? Like, what is my path, my purpose, my mission, my vision? Like, what am I here to do as the best, most fulfilled version of human that I can be, right? So that's what I want to get everyone to. My mission is to help 1 million people do that in the next 2 years. After that, let's get everyone business savvy, because as many people that I know that have 100 doors, 200 doors, 1,000 doors, they still can't take a Tuesday off to save their life.
Yep.
Time freedom.
Yeah.
Even more valuable than financial freedom, because now it's control of schedule. So for your entire life, you spent your entire life living on other people's schedules. So from when you were a kid to elementary, middle, high school, college, to your 9 to 5, you've been living on other people's schedules until eventually you quit and you're like, now what? It takes a while. So it takes some hand-holding to figure out, and some trial by fire to figure out what is my routine. So that's time freedom. And then you go into mental and emotional freedom, which is when you have control of your calendar. Now you're like, all right, so I have nothing to do today. Let me start asking these questions. What do I enjoy? What am I great at? Like, am I a good husband? Am I a good father? How can I be better? What impact do I want to provide to the world? That's where you start to see like your gears turning. And for people that are working in the corporate job that don't have, this time to take off, go take a week in the woods or a weekend. Like, go to a coffee shop without listening to anything and just think about this stuff. Because this is where you start to develop what you said, the remote scalable income, your passionate income. So how do we generate this from scratch while we're still working the job? This isn't binary. It's not, I live my passion and travel around the world, or I'm working a job and doing nothing. There's a lot of gray in between. There's a lot of overlap. The advice step-by-step that I recommend is, first thing that you do is figure out what would you happily do for free. Start there. Step 2, start posting content about it. Post. Doesn't have to be to gain virality. It doesn't have to be the next influencer. But just put it out in the universe what you're doing.
Yep.
Here's how you know that you have traction. When you start having people reach out to you and ask you about thing. Now all of a sudden you have what's called product market fit or consumer demand. All right. So for me, what happened with like my business today is I was traveling around the world and I was posting about it on my podcast, and every single step I documented on my podcast. And that was from you. Because you told me at a mastermind event when I started.
Me personally?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
I started the podcast when I started the podcast like 2.5 years ago. I was with you at a GoBundance event, and you said, man, people don't care about me because I live in Hawaii. People care because they knew me before Hawaii, and they watched me on the journey to Hawaii.
I said that? Wow.
You did.
I'm deep.
Yeah. It was your AI bot.
ChatGPT Brandon.
And I was just like, I thought that was so profound. And it was just an impact, like off comment thing. You're like, dude, they don't care. Like, they care about the journey, not the destination. And I was like, well, I'm going to post everything that I do. And I have an episode that's like, here's how I quit corporate America.
Yeah.
Here, month 1 after corporate America, everything's burning. What do I do? And so as I was posting, everyone and their freaking brother, mother, and sister was reaching out to me saying, how do I do this? I'm in the same exact boat that you were. And then here's what I did next. And it's so important from like a business and entrepreneurship perspective, like the the tactics that people can use, is then I did a free offer. What you don't want to do is you don't want to say, oh, I'm a life coach now, brother. I'm a business coach. Do not do that.
Yeah.
Please don't. Document what you're doing.
Yep.
Post about it. See if you have inbound people asking you about it. This could be freaking candle making.
Yep.
I don't care, whatever your passion is. Then you post a free offer. You're like, hey, I'll help you with this for free. I did 100 free intro calls.
Wow.
I posted on my podcast only. And I said, hey, if you guys want 15 minutes of my time, I'll coach you for free. I'll help you in any way I can. And on every single one of those calls, I ask the same questions. Where are you at? Where are you heading? What are the 3 main roadblocks in between? And I used those 3 to create, ironically, an online course, which is what everyone and their brother does. And I actually am super anti-course now. And that's why I like what you're doing with Better Life as well. So I created this online course. I coached these people for free, 100 of them for 15 minutes. It took 2 months. After this 2 months, I email all these people and I say, hey, had fun coaching you. I'm making a course on this. It's going to be like a 50-hour thing. Do you want to do this? And I was like, $1,500? Is that good? And then most of them said yes, and I made $100,000 in 48 hours.
That's awesome.
Without a bank account, without anything. I did it through Venmo and Cash App.
It's because you built up that rapport with them first. You helped them. You gave.
Yes.
Like Gary Vaynerchuk style, jab, 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 right hook. You jabbed a bunch before you right hooked.
Yep. And then I created the course. And then what ended up happening from that was I asked people for feedback, and they said that the course was cool, but they really loved the Facebook group that I put them in. And I was just like, uh-oh, wrong business model. Let's pivot to, instead of being a paid course and free community, we're a paid community with a free course. And now that's doing about $1 million a year right now, and those are my freaking brothers and sisters, and that's my family, dude. Every single time somebody joins that, just like you feel with Better Life, it's like whenever somebody joins that, I'm like, dude, your family tree's in my hands right now. Yeah. Like, let's do this thing. Like, I love this. And so the lessons for people to take out from that, because that was a lot to summarize, get quiet, figure out like what you enjoy doing as a kid, post about it. This should feel fun to you. This shouldn't feel forced. That's a good litmus test. This should feel fun for you to post. You're like, I finally get to post about, basketball or, or wrestling or candle making or whatever you want. Then you post about it, get inbound traffic, do a free offer, do a free giveaway, make a free ebook, see what people say, what do you need help with? And then just build your product and build your business off of what people say. It's called the minimum viable product, the MVP. Yeah. Yep. And so instead of building this giant business or building this thing that nobody wants, and all of a sudden 6 months later you release this labor of love that nobody in the market wants, you're like, this is by the market for the market. Yeah. Dude, you can't lose because the customer is literally the one that created the product. And so that is step by step, and I go over that in the book, but that is how you do it. And if everybody just did that, good God.
Yeah, I love that. The concept, one of my favorite books was The Lean Startup from Eric Ries or Rice. I'm not sure.
That's where I got it.
So I think he was the one that originally coined minimal viable product, or maybe it was Steve, something that he learned from, but his mentor. But that idea of like, you don't need to spend the next 2 years building the product you think is right because you don't know what's right. I mean, when we launched Better Life Tribe, we didn't know what it was going to be. We've had a whole year of pivots, changing constantly of like, oh, I think the people want this. Oh, actually, they want this. Oh, like originally we thought pods, like accountability small groups, were going to be the most important thing people could have. They're cool, and a lot of people love them. But we found that a lot of them just they just fall apart because nobody's taking leadership. So we're like, well, let's try some facilitated pods. We'll charge a little bit more money and then put somebody in charge of it that's like on staff. All of a sudden, those are doing really, really well. We're like, okay, well, now there's a business there. So now we can make a pivot there. It's not the only thing we're going to do, but that's the idea. Is you're just constantly testing and tweaking, trying to figure out what could be the thing. Mm-hmm. And that's how Bigger Pockets grew from when I came on to Bigger Pockets, the very first person to work with Josh. I mean, it was 10, 12 years ago. Like, it's nothing like Bigger Pockets is today. Like, we pivoted 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And not everyone got us closer, but everyone taught us a lesson that got us closer to where we're going to be. Better Life's like that. My Open Door Capital, we started out like completely different than we are today. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're just going to do small little like 20-unit mobile home parks. We quickly learned that's a terrible idea for like,
oopsies.
Yeah, that was so hard to like. Yeah, and we learned that we don't like septic tanks. We learned we don't like cesspools or any of the weird things. We learn what we like, and you just keep pivoting. Yeah. But that doesn't work if you stop, right? Kind of like driving through fog. Like if you pull over to the side of the road, you're never going to get anywhere. You just got to keep moving, keep pivoting, find out what people want. So I love that.
I want to highlight something that you said there, where it's just like The reason that people don't create their first initial vision is because they're so terrified. They're like, dude, I don't even know if I'm going to be living in the city in 5 years or 3 years, let alone like what I want my life to look like. And they feel so like intimidated to put this thing out into the universe. But what you just said, you knew where you were going.
Yeah.
You didn't know how you were going to get there.
Yeah. People obsess about the how all the time, like you said.
Yep. Yeah. So if you put the where and then you let the how figure itself out, that is a cheat code. Yeah. And that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Yeah, I know a woman who makes, I mean, 7, maybe more, at least 7 figures a year off of selling patterns that she designs, like probably on an iPad, and then makes these patterns. I don't even know what people use these patterns for, like wallpaper, I guess. I don't know, but she just started doing that and then started teaching other pattern makers how to sell their patterns on, I don't know, Etsy, I don't know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And now she makes like 7, maybe 8 figures a year selling patterns. It's just like such a random thing. And she got financial freedom from it. It was just something that she enjoyed. She would do if she made no money whatsoever. I know people have doggy daycares that make a ton of money on doggy daycares. I know a guy who teaches baseball lessons to kids online and just like, this is how you do it. And he just makes a ton of money that way.